Good evening. So today we'll be talking about Chapter 20, Electrochemistry. So electrochemistry is all about redox reactions, so oxidation and reduction. So oxidation is when a element loses electrons, and reduction is when it gains electrons. And we also talked about oxidizing agents and reducing agents. And an oxidizing agent is when an element helps to assist another element oxidize, which means they're losing electrons. Then we also talked about half reactions, and half reactions is when a reaction is divided into two halves so that we can understand the electron flow. Then, moving on, we also talked about currents, and current is measured in ampere, which is like a letter A, and then it is the number of electrons that flow through a wire per second. Then we also talked about potential difference, and that's the difference in potential and energy between reactants and products. And we also talked about cell potential and how we can calculate E-cell as well. Along with that, we talked about how cells produce electricity and how salt bridges can help to produce neutrality and help transport two half cells into the next. We also talked about cell notation and how we can notate different cells, like anode and cathode, and how it goes from here, and then double lines or salt bridges, and then cathodes. We also talked about how higher reduction is a cathode and lower reduction potential is an anode. So whichever one is more positive will be the cathode value. And then E-cell is cathode minus anode. And then moving on, we also talked about how metals with reduction half below H plus to H2 will dissolve in acids, and the relationship between E-cell, delta G, and K. And then the last thing we touched on was spontaneous processes, which is when delta G is negative and E-cell and K are positive. Overall, this lesson was actually quite interesting to me and something that I did well on and excelled in. And I didn't really have much problems with it except remembering like how to do the E-cell calculations and finding certain E-cell values.